So, what have you learned so far in this crisis? What have you learned about yourself? What have you learned about people around you? What have you learned about your government or your friends or the people that you trust?
Welcome to Leading Leaders Podcast. 5-minute videos, 5 days a week.
I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast, and I think there have been some pretty powerful observations, not judgments, just observations about this time of crisis. On the comedic side, I think the reality is a lot of us are going to come out with a whole different hairstyle because we haven't been able to see the professionals that maintain this mop on top of my head. I'm not as fortunate as somebody like, say, Jason Manquist, who has a much simpler hairstyle, but also he has a wife who is from the profession of hair salons. She used to own her own and does a phenomenal job on hair. So his family is going to be fine. They're going to be looking normal when we come out of this, and others of us will look much more like a mop or a sheepdog. I think that's true for a lot of people. I think another observation is that it's a whole lot easier to snack than it is to properly diet. It's a whole lot easier to get frustrated and tired and depressed and lazy and sit on the couch and watch television or binge watch Netflix series than it is to get up and jog a mile or work out when there's not a gym to go to. And that requires some discipline. So I think there are going to be some people whose physique is going to need the help of, a Clint Fuquay or a Jen Bodner when this season is over. And so I think that's another, again, it's not a judgment, it's just an observation. I saw a great Facebook meme yesterday that said, you should try at least once or twice a week to put on your favorite suit or your favorite pair of jeans just to make sure it still buttons, because your pajamas will lie to you. I think there's a lot of truth in that. Your pajamas will lie to you. But I think some other observations that I made is that crisis does tend to reveal what's really in there. Some of the biases that we already have toward capitalism or toward socialism. We may not even express those as political bents one way or another, but in this time of crisis, there are those who said, well, my primary job, my primary source of income has been put on hold, and it could be weeks, days, months, years before it comes back again, if the opportunity still exists on the other side of this radical transformation of our society. And so I am going to find everything that I can find to do, anything that can put my hands to work that can also generate revenue. I'm going to be business of it. I'm going to start selling things I've never sold before, doing work I've never done before. I would Google Hangouts and Zooms and whatever I can do to network and build a new business or find some way to create cash flow. And others have said, that's okay, the job will come back, but for now I'll wait for the government to send me a check or two or three, or some have even talked about monthly stipend checks from the government for the next 12 to 18 months. Personally, that frightens me. It frightens me because whoever's paying you, they kind of own your time. They kind of own your loyalty. They kind of own your allegiance. You think that's not true? Try expecting a paycheck from your job but not showing up there. Try showing up there but not doing the work that they're paying you to do. And you'll find very quickly that the people who pay you are buying your time and your dedication and your intellect and your loyalty. And if that's just the government paying you, follow along. That's not complicated math. If the only one putting money in your pocket is the government is buying the same time and talent and treasure and attention that an employer would. Or if you're self-employed, that your customer would. If they're paying for your time, I heard it said, in fact, by one of my clients not too long ago. She said, when I hire someone to come in and work on my computer, and while they're working on my computer and I can hear those cash register cha-ching, 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 cha-ching every 5 minutes as they're adding to the bill, whether they're making any major progress or not, and then they stop to answer their personal cell phone. I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm paying for their time, but am I also paying for the time that they're not working on my project? Even though they're sitting in my office in front of my computer, they're actually talking on their phone. So trust me, whether it's your customer boss paying you or the government paying you, what they're paying you for is your time, talent, treasure, and attention. And if they're not getting that, they're either going to stop paying you or demand more of you to make sure that they are getting it. So in this time of crisis, we've seen some run for other sources of income, run for other opportunities, look for ways to get on with business, and others who said, I'm okay if the government kind of becomes my boss, if the government becomes my source. We've also seen people who immediately swerve into their political lane, and everything they talk about is their favorite political candidate, their favorite political persuasion. Again, I'm not judging, I'm just observing. Just watch the social media trends, and the divide in the political realm is getting deeper and deeper and deeper, not closer and closer together, which is really ironic. I've also noticed that this COVID-19 thing doesn't care about your age, race, color, gender, political affiliation. If it's going to affect you, it's going to affect you, and maybe hand washing, social distancing, and hiding in your closet is the only way to avoid that. We'll also notice that in some places where lots of people got infected, there's now a herd immunity, and there are a whole lot more people who have been infected and recovered than there are been infected and passed. And so the recovery rate is strong for those who've been exposed. I don't know what's going to happen to all those who've been sheltered and then suddenly become exposed. I don't know. I'm not an epidemiologist, but I think it's a rational question we should be asking. I think I've also found in observation that those who are people of faith, this time has given them opportunity to deepen their faith, to deepen their study of their faith, to deepen the relationships of their faith, to deepen the community of faith. That's pretty fascinating to me. But people without faith they seem to be the ones filling the social media streams with terror and with fear and with anxiety and with stress because they don't have faith. Whatever your faith is in, if you're a person of faith, you should probably trust that on the other side of this, your faith isn't going to go away. Just observations of my own. But as a leader, that's part of my role. And as you lead those around you, it's part of your role to observe how they're handling this season. How do they cope with the crisis? Who are they looking to for advice and insights? Who do they trust? Who do they depend on? Who do they count on for cash flow? Who do they count on for confidence? Because right now, that's the greatest currency we have. I'm Loren Norris with Leading Leaders Podcast for Tell It Like It Is TV. Have a blessed day.
Subscribe now for our extensive video library of leadership lessons promoting faith, family, and freedom.